So let's talk about what the president did yesterday afternoon. A bit of a surprise. He called a press conference, at which time he wanted to underline the fact that the Senate passed the foreign aid bill without any border security. But he came out there and said, I'm not going to take questions because I want this to be the headline. I want people to know that we need to support Ukraine, we need to support Israel, and we need this money now. And then he went out and he took on Donald Trump in a campaign-style way. Watch.
Good afternoon. Before we begin, I'm going to make this statement, let it stand on its own. I'm not going to take any questions, but I'll be taking questions tomorrow and the next day. But I don't want anything to get in the way of the statement. To be very blunt about it.
And the reason he did that was because it was last Thursday after the special counsel's report came out, Mr. Hur's report came out, and that press scrum was absolutely a disaster. And, you know, elderly, bad memory, all that stuff came out. He did not want a repeat. He wanted to stay on message, and he did. But then again, it made him look small. Like, I'm not going to take any questions today. And people in the White House were going, what's he going to talk about? How's he going to answer questions tomorrow or the next day? Because there's nothing on the schedule right now for questions.
Lawrence?
Yeah, I just find the entire conversation to be disingenuous for two reasons. First of all, he has critique of Donald Trump and what he was saying about NATO and foreign countries. If you don't pay your fair due, then we won't protect you. It wasn't a conversation about empowering Russia. It was a message to all the NATO countries that, hey, listen, you got to pay up if we want to have a strong defense. And by the way, someone that agrees with him, talk to the Secretary General, who says that the NATO fund increased because of Donald Trump putting pressure on them. So I also think that whether it's his position right there on that or the fact of putting that front and center and being totally tone deaf to what's happening at the border.
Yeah, he's being criticized a lot for not taking questions, for not having as many press conferences past presidents have had. And the New York Times is reporting this morning that there's been a tense relationship between Admiral Kirby and Karine Jean-Pierre. She is the White House spokesperson. He was just promoted within the White House to White House National Security Advisor, which elevates him from the deputy assistant up to assistant to the president. And this article talks about how he's frustrated that Jean-Pierre has picked the reporters who ask him the questions at the briefing, and it says that he would one day want to be press secretary. In the article, it also talks about when the president named Karine Jean-Pierre, when they decided she was going to take over for Jen Psaki, they were at a reception to honor Jen Psaki, her departure in May of 2022. And the president was trying, this is according to a few sources that were anonymous that were interviewed, that he tried to reassure Karine Jean-Pierre not to worry about filling Ms. Psaki's shoes, and says you will have an admiral looking over your shoulder.
Look, it's all about messaging. They're having a tough re-election campaign. It's begun in earnest. And they need better messaging. It's that simple. And that's why they brought John Kirby in, essentially, and expanded his role. But here's the thing. Remember, after the special counsel, we had Ian Sams come out, and he briefed the press, and he was very effective at what he did. And so, essentially, when you look at the two of them, John Kirby is very effective at speaking from the podium on a range of issues. Karine Jean-Pierre, historic, but at the same time, she relies on the big book of answers.
Lawrence?
Steve, it's okay. You can go ahead and say she's not doing the job. She's not doing the job. Every time there's a difficult press event, they have to bring different people in to supplement her press conferences. She can't do the job. And this is why I would be annoyed, too, if I didn't have the title, but yet I'm doing the job. And I think that's what the Admiral is saying, and rightfully so.
Yeah, she's got to point to the people. The Admiral answer the questions. It's comical. She's so insecure, and she's also very ineffective.
I think they could find an intern for that.
Right. They go to pick people who check boxes, not the best people. Remember to DVR this show. If you ever miss it, you can't get up.